They expect intervals of clouds and sunshine with a heavy thunderstorm arriving late in the afternoon. The thunderstorms could bring flooding downpours, hail, and damaging wind gusts. The high for Friday will be 81 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios.
This hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, I'll read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
My next guest is somebody I have not had the pleasure of talking to before, but I can tell just from his resume, number one, I want to talk to him, and number two, I'm going to like him. An award-winning journalist, host on Newsmax's The Todd Starnes Show, also the host of a daily national radio show. He's the owner of KWAM, a news radio station in Memphis, Tennessee. And as a reporter, he's a winner twice of the Edward R. Murrow Award and the one that impresses me from the Associated Press Mark Twain Award, which means he's smart and funny, author of many books. His new book, The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America, it's out now. He is Todd Starnes. Todd, how are you?
Shaun, I'm honored, and this is my inaugural appearance on your show, and I got to tell you, complete props for Creedence Clearwater Revival, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it. You know, I'm going to tell you, originally, because I'm a real jerk, okay? And I start a lot. I would just want to, people ask you, how do you get ready? I'm just trying to pick a fight with people who think you don't want to pick a fight with them. I like that. So originally it was Eminem, the punk. And then I started to hear him talk about politics. I said, let's get rid of that. Let's go with a little Vietnam era, a little patriotism. So really, that's the shift. We're lucky enough, you and I, and so many of our listeners, to remember when people were proud of America, proud of the youngest and the richest country, not just because of money, but because we're the only ones started on the principle of the individual. The only one. All these other countries, thousands of years, all garbage, all ghettos. And now it seems like there's so many in our society that are either too stupid to know that or too corrupt to talk about it, and they just want to be in on the political scams. How do you see it?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was a kid when Iran took the American hostages, and I remember when even Democrats were out there chanting along the song, bomb, 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 Iran. I mean, everybody was a patriot back in the day, which wasn't too terribly long ago. But what we have seen happen really over the past 2 decades, Shaun, is a product of our nation's taxpayer-funded education system, which has been raising up a generation of young people trained to hate our country, to hate our values. They're confused about their pronouns. They're teaching white kids that they're somehow responsible for slavery back in the 1860s through critical race theory. And that really, when I started writing the book, The Golden Age, I knew I had to have a chapter explaining the engine behind this radical change in America, which is our nation's education system.
Oh, unequivocally. And, you know, this to me is a Chicago issue. And I'm wondering, in your research, did it bring you to the Chicago Communist Mafia Party? That's what we developed. And we did it perfectly.
Well, it did. And not only Chicago, but we really hit on a lot of major American cities where this is a very clear and present danger to the republic. Let's get real here. Moms and dads, when they're sitting around in Memphis, Tennessee, eating dry rub ribs, or you guys eating the deep dish pizza in Chicago, they're not talking to the kids about the virtues of socialism. This is happening in our classrooms. You send your children to school. You send little Billy to school. In the afternoon, he comes back wearing a dress with a nose ring. It says, "Call me Darlene." This is not normal. This is not normal at all. And so we have a lot of fun in the book. I write a lot I love writing satire, and we have a lot of parody. But this is really a celebration of what Donald Trump did for our country. Now, keep in mind, he's not Jesus Christ. That's not the focus of this book. But he did save America from the clutches of the communists and the socialists. That's exactly where this country was heading. God forbid had Kamala Harris gotten elected and gotten out of her bathtub with the bottle of Josh. Thank God that did not happen, Shaun. And Donald Trump saved us. The question is, will we save ourselves once Trump leaves office?
Well, this is the issue at hand, right? Will we have the character and the integrity to save ourselves above this nonsense that has worked up until now? And what works, ironically, in my opinion, is the good nature and good character against good people to do bad things and bail out bad people. So that's what's really, interesting to me is what he represents, and he completely reorganized our political body as they anticipated it to be, as they visioned it to be in their own mind when they thought, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I was never anything. And I don't like this idea that you're forced to always take the lesser of two evils. Ultimately, it leads you to right where we are. But why I think he's brilliant in what he's done, he never ran for dog catcher. He runs for the president of the United States, his first political office, and wins. That is inspiring even to people who are not articulating it, even to kids out there, that they will grow up and say, this guy never ran for anything except the president. I think he's the founder of an original third party. They just don't talk about it. What do you think?
Yeah, Shaun, I completely agree with you. And I've had the privilege of sitting down with the president on multiple occasions for long-form interviews, and that really became sort of the foundation of the Golden Age book, really giving folks some new insight into this man who really is a blue-collar billionaire. I grew up the son of an electrician, and this president speaks that language. He gives nobility to those kinds of jobs, and people really do relate to that kind of a thing. But, when you look back at the rise of Donald Trump, the same Donald Trump back in the 1970s on the talk shows, Phil Donahue and going on Oprah show, that's the same Donald Trump. He's got the same value system. Nothing changed. But the reason he got elected is the fault of the Republicans. They continued to screw the American people. They kept promising but not delivering on the promises. And along comes Donald Trump and says, what do you got to lose? Give me a chance. We did. And sure enough, this is a man who has delivered on most of his campaign promises. But you have to blame the Republicans. It's their fault.
I'm lucky enough to remember his rise in the 70s. I will never forget it because he was sitting outside the first articles written about him. He was young and he had taken over for his father, Fred. And he was in New York City, and New York was a ghetto in the 70s. Most people don't talk about it. It was terrible in the 70s. And he was sitting outside of a brown Cadillac Fleetwood limousine. And he couldn't have been more than 25 years old. And he said, I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy this. And sure enough, he caught the right era, that 1980 Reagan boom, go out and make money. And he was somebody to watch. And I'll tell you, I was a big fan of his in the beginning. But then when I saw how political he had to get, I think that's what put the real bad taste in his mouth, because he thought he could reason with people. He thought he could give a campaign contribution to Chuck Schumer, to Chicago Democrat gangsters, to California gangsters, to Bill Clinton to a certain extent. Hung around with him and whatnot. And I think he understood when he saw it, there's no saving them, and they don't love the country. And I think that's what inspired him. Did you get any feeling of that when you talked to him over these times?
I did. And there's an authenticity about this guy. Someone said, what's it like to interview Trump? I said, it's like, well, being in the Daytona 500, except you're on the hood of the car holding on for dear life. The guy just multitasks on multiple levels. And I just came across with an authentic guy. What you see is what you get. There is no pretense with Donald Trump. And he really does believe what he says. And I think that comes across in our conversations, that I published in the book. Shaun, I got to tell you what happened, though, at my book signing in Memphis, Tennessee. This has never happened to me before. Senator Marsha Blackburn was there, one of our local congressmen. All of a sudden, we hear this massive disturbance, and it turned out there was a literal thundering herd of morbidly obese woke white women who stormed the Barnes and Noble and were trying to shout us down. And it was the most insane thing I'd ever seen in my life. You could smell them before you could see them.
Yeah.
And the irony is, in my book, I actually have a chapter called The Gals of Girth. That's what we call them. And in this parody chapter, I present myself as a life coach to help these obese, woke women find meaning in life by getting husbands for them.
You know, this is something that I love, too, about Trump. He has brought this out. And, you know, for decades, when this cancer was really spreading, for decades, we pretended it was nuanced differences in policies. What this is are people who hate themselves. You cannot subscribe to the philosophies of slavery, socialism, communism, Marxism, American Democrat ghetto living. You cannot subscribe to it if you do not first hate yourself. So I always did this. And when I first started in radio, they're like, oh, you really can't do that. I go, listen to me. This is more a psychological tell than a real issue. If you're 300 pounds, if you're 280 pounds as a woman, you have to maintain that weight. You're actually maintaining it. You can't accidentally be that way. There's no real big gland problem or big bones. So that's an indication you hate yourself. And when you deal with somebody who hates themselves, well, all they want to do is hate everybody else, and they're going to find a virtuous way to make it appear that they don't. That's what subscribes to this philosophy as I see it. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. You know, ladies, you got to put down the Italian beef and hit the Jenny Craig. You know, it really is that.
Now, listen, now, in my neighborhood, our women eat that stuff. They still shake it off. Our women are active, baby. Go ahead.
Well, and that's the way our gals are down here in Dixie as well. But you're right. I think these are women who really just hate their lives and they hate what they've become. And it really is sad. But President Trump really has a way of using humor to convey, you know, the absurdities of all of this stuff. You know, I mean, whoever would have thought we would be debating what the W and WNBA stood for goodness sakes.
It's wonderful.
And some of the ideas we explore in the Golden Age.
It's absolutely wonderful, and also a big part of this is what he really represents when it comes to self-success, achievement, goals that you set and goals that you hit, and he exposes something that Republicans refuse to talk about. Greed is not the definition of a man that wants his own money. Greed is the definition of the sloth that wants to take it away. That is something that it has changed in our society in our lifetime, where greed all of a sudden is a guy who wants to hold on to the money he earned. And if we don't get that argument back, and we don't make that argument on property rights is the foundation of our country. There is no such thing as capitalism. It's propertyism. Capitalism is the word that a communist, the founder of communism, and Karl Marx gave it. The reality is only the people who could earn back in the day had the money. They made the money, they kept the money, and they built our economy. No government built the American economy. We did. The government sucks off of it. And we have to reorganize the philosophy of America, don't we?
You know, I think so. And President Trump, one of the greatest things he did, and it did not get a lot of coverage, but the president brought honor and nobility back to the trade arts. He told a generation of young people, there's nothing wrong with you if you don't want to go to college. You know, Obama said, if you don't go to college, you won't be able to live your American dream. Donald Trump says, if you want to go to college, go to college. But if you want to be a construction worker, be a construction worker.
Yes.
Be a diesel mechanic. There's something noble about that. When he stood at that McDonald's drive-thru, he was working the fry lane. That, to me, was not some sort of a campaign stunt or joke. It was the president sending a message. There is honor and nobility in a hard-earned, day's work. And that's what Donald Trump has conveyed to the young people of America. We've got to get that American work ethic back. You're absolutely right.
And look at what happens to these companies. Look at what has happened in the most corrupt areas, how corrupt government representatives and employees who've never worked a day in their life. In Chicago, they tell McDonald's what they have to pay their workers. They have the audacity, or as it's known in my neighborhood, the balls, to tell a company what you have to pay your workers. That it's not your company. It's the government's company. And you have these millions of people who've never worked, never turned a profit. And remember when we were kids and the Ray Kroc story and how many millionaires that came from McDonald's employees? It was twice as many that ever came out of college. They came there because they learned how to make a profit the way he did. It's really a story that never is told anymore, the beauty of earning your money.
It's a great point. Speaking of that, we were talking about a story out of Detroit where they're having to pay kids to go to school. $100 a week. If you don't miss a day, you get $100 a week for going to school. We didn't have that problem back in the 1970s because we had mothers armed with cast iron skillets that sent their kids to school and made sure they stayed in the classroom. So, again, the whole country, has gone topsy-turvy. I explain the reason why in the book. It's honestly, we have steered and veered away from the values of our founding fathers, this idea that we're a nation under God. John Adams said, when you take God out of our founding documents, you take God out of the public square, you get chaos. And I think that's the problem, really, with the country. We've got a lot of chaos on our hands right now.
Well, and one of the things he also exposes is the futility in Democrat-run areas. The absolute insanity, the massive increase of costs of everything from gas to taxes on groceries to all kinds of things that happens in these Democrat areas where they destroy the quality of life and erode a middle class. But you're in Tennessee. Have you always been in the South? Have you always been in Tennessee?
No, so I anchored the news at Fox in New York City for 15 years. So I lived in Brooklyn, the most liberal city in America. And I only did that because I cover the American liberal and I wanted to live in their natural habitat to, try to see how they think. So I moved back to Memphis, and Shaun, the entire state is deep red except for Memphis, which is the blue buttock of the volunteer state. So I'm surrounded by even more Democrats here in the deep South now.
But he has exposed, though, the difference in both the businesses opening up, the low property taxation, the low taxes. Most of what are there, 9 states with zero income tax? And you look at the way these states are run versus all these blue ones, all these ones we're from, and you see the people that moved down to Tennessee from New York, from Illinois, from California, and the same through the rest of the boom belt. Now we have 11 states, makes up 74% of the GDP. I mean, it's staggering, absolute undeniable evidence of you can live righteous and to the principles of America, or you can't. And that's the other beauty he's brought out. He brought the cold Civil War out to what it really is. It's a war on the people. It's not a war on states. It's a war on the people. If you live in a blue state, the government wants to take your money. If you live in a red state, the government wants you to keep your money, don't they? Isn't that's how I see the difference. How do you see it?
Right now, Tennessee, which does not have a state income tax, we have a $2 billion surplus in state funds right now. And we find that to be, a blessing. We love our way of life, and we love welcoming refugees from other states. Our only concern is with the folks from New York, because they're packing their values with them. So we've been putting up messages on social media giving them directions to Tennessee, but it actually directs them to Kentucky. So hopefully they won't catch on. But yeah, we're full. We don't need any more folks here in Tennessee.
Well, Todd, I'm going to tell you, I think our show, this show right here, it's in a communist area, a Marxist mafia area, and the people who listen to it, I don't let the scallywags listen. I tell them change the station. These people, when they move, they're going to be your best neighbors, and I feel that way about New York. I feel that way about New Jersey, Boston, Mass. And if you look at Philly and the rest of it, I'm in Florida now. When you see these people, when you see them and you talk to them, they are hardcore. They do not want a Democrat. I love that he is realigning the population the way he is. I think he's going to make the red states stronger because there's nobody that will reject a communist, a Democrat mafia member more than somebody who's been a victim of it and is a good person. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a bit of an adjustment for us. They opened up some restaurant the other day that only serves salad, which is kind of unheard of in Memphis. And we got our first bagel shop down here. So,
oh boy. Can't win friends with salad. So see if we could short that stock, Todd, will you? In the meantime, where does everybody go to see the Todd Starnes show on Newsmax? What time are you on there?
Yeah, so I'm on 5 o'clock, but folks can go. I do a nationally syndicated radio show noon to 3 Eastern, and folks can go to toddstarnes.com. You can download our app, all sorts of great free stuff at the website, and great stories, too.
Well, the book is called The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America, but you've written, from what I can ascertain, at least 6 books, haven't you?
Yeah, believe it or not, this is number 9.
Wow.
Yeah, really having a lot of fun with it.
Todd, it's really been a pleasure. I hope I get a chance to shake your hand. Really, thank you for making time. I know how busy you are.
Shaun, it's an honor. What a great show you have. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
He will never negotiate his constitutional rights with the government. Live free or die on the Shaun Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say on AM 560.